Hello everyone, it's Jennifer. I'd like to ask you a question. Do you have a favorite season? Truthfully, I love every season. New England is a great place for me to live because I can enjoy all 4 seasons. Each season has something special to offer. There are beautiful snowfalls in the winter. There are flowers in the spring. There are picnics in the summer, and there's the start of the hockey season in the fall. One of my favorite times of the year is when the leaves change color. They turn red, orange, yellow. We call it fall foliage or foliage, as some say. What you absolutely must see if you visit New England is the fall foliage. The colors are amazing. I really do like the fall. The cooler weather makes me feel productive. Maybe that's why I'm in the mood to study grammar right now. How about if you take a quiz with me? See if you can answer 10 questions about subject-verb agreement. You can tell me your score at the end of the lesson, okay? Subject-verb agreement means that the subject and the verb agree in number. A singular subject takes a singular verb. A plural subject takes a plural verb. That's why I said, I love. New England is. Each season has. The colors are. But subject-verb agreement isn't always so simple and clear, at least not at first. So let's start our quiz and see how well you handle tricky grammar. Do you know why I like the fall? There are at least 3 reasons why I enjoy the fall. There's the fall foliage, the start of the hockey season, and the day we turn our clocks back an hour. Sentences with there is, there are, put the subject after the verb. We're stating what exists. There are at least 3 reasons. There's the fall foliage. Uncountable nouns like foliage take a singular verb. If we have a list of items, many American English speakers will use a singular verb if the first noun is singular. This pattern is all about proximity. It has to do with what kind of noun is closest to the verb. This pattern is especially common in spoken English with the contraction theirs. There's the fall foliage, the start of the hockey season, and the day we turn our clocks back 1 hour. You'll see similar patterns with here. Here's a pretty leaf. Here are some fall decorations. Here are the gloves and rake you asked for. You might also hear, here's the rake and gloves you asked for. Our house can get chilly in the fall and winter. Neither my children nor my husband likes a cold house. With the structures neither nor and either or, we also have to consider proximity. If you have 2 singular nouns, use a singular verb. If you have 2 plural nouns, use a plural verb. But if you have a mix, meaning if you have a singular noun and a plural noun in the subject, the verb agrees with the noun that is closest to it. Neither my children nor my husband likes a cold house. Neither my husband nor my children like a cold house. You can tell what season it is if you look around our house. My daughter, along with my help, likes to put up seasonal decorations around the house. One of the things she put up this month was a ghost for Halloween. Sometimes proximity is a problem. The subject and the verb can be far from each other, so it can get confusing. Just remember that any phrase or clause that comes between the subject and the verb doesn't change subject-verb agreement. It may be helpful to see it like this. My daughter likes to put up seasonal decorations around the house. One was a ghost for Halloween. Here's another example. The ghosts in our window aren't real. The ghosts aren't real. So you know that I like the weather in New England, but it's probably not fair to say that one climate is better than another. Everybody has their preferences. A lot of it has to do with where you grew up. Pronouns can be tricky. It's easy to remember subject-verb agreement with subject pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, they. But what about indefinite pronouns? Pronouns ending with body or one are singular. That includes somebody, someone, everybody, everyone, nobody, no one, anybody, anyone. But the funny thing is that in conversation, we often use plural reference words because it's easier and more concise. Everybody has their preferences. Everybody has their preferences. In more formal English, we would probably say, everyone has his or her preferences. Quantifying pronouns can be singular or plural. You have to consider the whole context. A lot of it has to do with where you grew up. A lot of tourists come to see the fall foliage. So be careful with pronouns like a lot, some, and none. Hockey is a good sport for a cold climate. My son and my daughter enjoy watching professional hockey games on TV. On any given day of the week, my son or my daughter is wearing a hockey shirt, ready for the next game. The conjunction and is easy to understand. It can join two or more nouns together to form a compound subject. Compound subjects are plural. My husband and my children are. The conjunction or is different. Here are the usual patterns. How are you doing so far? How many questions have you answered correctly? Keep track of your score, okay? Let's go on to the next question. Actually, I didn't start watching hockey until my son started playing the sport several years ago. Watching and cheering for the Pittsburgh Penguins is something we do as a family now. The conjunction "and" helps us form a compound subject, but sometimes the notion or the idea of the subject is more important than the grammatical structure. In other words, we can consider a compound subject singular if we perceive the subject as one activity, one situation, one thing. It's like saying egg and sausage on a biscuit is really yummy. I consider egg and sausage on a biscuit as one thing I eat sometimes. So as a family, we sit, we watch, and we cheer for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's one activity. Watching and cheering for the Pittsburgh Penguins is something we do as a family. This is something we do as a family. Have you ever watched a hockey game? Watching hockey is one thing, playing is another. Watching hockey and playing hockey are two of my son's favorite activities. Gerund subjects are singular. They refer to one activity. We saw an exception in question 6, but now in question 7 we have a compound subject and the two activities are distinct. They're separate. You can watch and cheer at the same time, but you can't really watch and play at the same time. You can't be a spectator and a player at the same game. So watching hockey and playing hockey are two of my son's favorite activities. He watches professional hockey games on TV and he plays on a local team. Infinitives as subjects follow the same pattern. To see a professional hockey game live would be amazing. To go as a family is too expensive, though. To go to a professional hockey game and to take a weekend trip cost about the same. Do you like sports with physical contact? American football is another popular fall sport, but there's even more contact than in hockey. What worries me is the number of head injuries those men suffer. What would concern me as a player are the long-term effects of multiple concussions. Okay, there's a lot going on in this example. First, let's talk about embedded questions. They're a type of noun clause, and we can use them as a subject. To learn more about embedded questions, see the link in the video description to an older lesson. As I said, embedded questions are a type of noun clause. They start with a question word, and then they follow statement word order, subject-verb. These noun clauses can be a subject of a sentence. As a subject, they're usually singular. Why tickets to games are so expensive is beyond me. How much a single ticket costs is shocking. Whenever you want to come over is fine with me. But sometimes the verb can be plural. Look at these examples. What the team needs is better defense. In other words, better defense is what the team needs. What we need are more players who take shots. In other words, more players who take shots are what we need. This pattern is similar to simple questions with what? What is his name? What are the players' names? Finally, remember that a number of is a quantifying phrase with the meaning several. The number of is a phrase we use to refer to a specific number. That player has had a number of head injuries, has had several head injuries. The number of players who have suffered concussions has increased. The number has increased. So look again at my example for question 8. American football is another popular fall sport, but there's even more contact than in hockey. What worries me is the number of head injuries those men suffer. What would concern me as a player are the long-term effects of multiple concussions. When you understand the game more, you can appreciate the skill of each player. "30 saves in a game is pretty good for a goalie. 1 goal and 2 assists for a single player is also impressive." Remember earlier I mentioned the notion or idea of a subject. If we perceive the subject to be one thing, one amount, or one unit, we use a singular subject. When I talk about 30 saves by a goalie, I'm not talking about individual actions. I'm talking about one whole performance in a game. 30 saves in a game is pretty good. So plural subjects with numbers can take a singular verb if we perceive the subject to be one unit, one whole. We do this with simple math equations as well. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Let me tell you about the U.S. The U.S. is full of sports fans. My family follows the Pittsburgh Penguins. Most of our neighbors cheer for the Boston Bruins, though. The New England Patriots are also popular. They're an American football team, and the team has won more than one championship. So between American football and ice hockey, there's a lot to watch on TV in the fall. Some nouns may look plural because they end in s, but if we consider it to be one unit, it takes a singular verb. Countries that end in s are a good example. The United States, the Bahamas. Each one is a country. Each one is a nation. It's the same thing for titles of movies, TV shows, or other artistic works. Friends was a popular TV show. Ghostbusters was a big hit in the 80s. Subjects of study may also end in s, but they're one subject of study, so they take a singular verb. Civics, economics, politics. Politics often divides a family, but sports can unite them again. Of course, there are exceptions, but a lot of it has to do with how we perceive a subject. I said politics divides a family sometimes. Politics divides, this subject divides them. So here politics is singular. Another example can use politics as a plural subject. His politics have changed over the years. His views have changed over the years. On the other hand, just because a noun doesn't look plural doesn't mean it's singular and takes a singular verb. Remember that we have a lot of irregular plural nouns: people, children, fish, deer. These plural nouns take plural verbs. A final group of nouns that can cause confusion with subject-verb agreement is collective nouns, nouns that refer to a group. I'll put a link to one of my older lessons on this topic in the video description. Just know that in American English, collective nouns like family and team are usually singular. The noun refers to a group, but we perceive that group as one unit. Look again at my example for question 10. The U.S. is full of sports fans. My family follows the Pittsburgh Penguins. The New England Patriots are an American football team, and the team has won more than one championship. So how did you do on the quiz? You can give yourself a half point if you got half of a question correct, okay? Don't worry about your score though. The important thing is that you understood all the correct answers. To review the patterns we studied, go to the video description. I'll copy and paste the transcript of my opening talk. I want you to complete that transcript with the correct verb forms. You can correct your work by listening again, okay? Well, that's all for now. Please remember to like this video. I'll see you again soon for another lesson. As always, thanks for watching and happy studies. Become a member of my learning community. Click the Join button to become a member of my YouTube channel, English with Jennifer. You'll get a special badge, bonus posts, on-screen credit, and a monthly live stream. Note that YouTube channel memberships are not available in every country at this time. Join me on my YouTube community tab for helpful posts each week. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. That way you'll get notification of every new video I upload to YouTube.